Okay. Hello. So my name is Christian. I am in the NeuroData first class. I am from Brazil. My background is in biochemistry. I did my bachelor's at Grinnell College in the US. And I focused, despite I did biochemistry, but I focused on neuroscience. And at the end of my bachelor's, I started doing molecular dynamic simulations, which prompted me to go more for a computational aspect of neuroscience. And that's how I landed in this program. Um, I've always wanted to do research with sleep. And later I figured out that I wanted to remain in the realm of basic sciences and still do research that could answer questions like why do we sleep? Um, what are the phenomenons uh, in sleep disorders that can be rescued by either molecular approaches or therapeutical approaches or other psychotherapeutical approaches. And that imminently led me to Portugal for my second year in the mobility program. First, because when I was looking at the program in the NeuroData website, they had the I control F sleep in the page, and then it led to the paragraph in Portugal because it's biomedical engineering. It's a program in biomedical engineering. And one of the uses of biomedical engineering is in sleep detection and in general doing polysomnography studies. So that's why it led me to Portugal. But then I started um, just maturing this idea of how me as a person with the very basic science, biochemistry, molecular approach could benefit from an education in biomedical engineering. And it started connecting to me that that's a good and still not really um, used approach to basic science. The idea of biomedical engineering of instrumentation, acquisition of biosignals is well founded in the way you do research. But the refinement of this, which comes with the biomedical engineering, is not really well spread, and specifically in sleep, circadian rhythms, basic research, it's really not that common. So I was like, okay, this is a gap as a scientist, or trying to find gaps. So that's a gap that I can enter, and that's what led me to Portugal. I am also Brazilian, which we speak Portuguese in Brazil, so Portugal made sense to me. I thought that it was going to be a good place for me to uh, experience life outside of classes in a different way. So those two ideas kind of led me to Portugal. Now, talking about life in Portugal specifically, it's one thing it's funny, and I always talk to the people in the program about is despite me speaking Portuguese, I felt like there was a high barrier of entrance with making friendships with other Portuguese people. This is one thing that you have to think and keep in mind when you're doing this program and in your second year mobility is that for Portugal specifically, or maybe for other countries, I'm not fully sure. But here at Técnico, most people who are in their masters, in their second year of master's degree, they will be in technical since their first year of bachelor's because they have an integrated master's program where you do 5 years and then you finish with both bachelor's and master's. And because of that, you're pretty much entering in the group of people who have known each other for 5 years, and that every semester they see a crowd of 5,000 international students coming and going. So they tend to be more clicky in that sense, which if you're coming here with I would say better mindset than the one that I came, you will understand that really quickly, and then find your friends in among the international students and among the Portuguese students who are also very connected to the Erasmus students. And that's what I suggest. I feel like it's a good approach in this program. And with that being said, there are a couple of nonprofit organizations that are pretty much all made by students here. The one that I am currently most participative in is the Erasmus Student Network, and they have a really several events every day of the week of the month, for people who like to hike, for people who like to go to trips, to party, to go pub crawling, and go to beach volleyball. They have everything. So that's a suggestion that I always make for people who are coming in. I will say that cost of living in Portugal has a very, or in Lisbon has a very weird dichotomy, which in one sense, it's cheap for you to live, buy groceries, go to like cultural events, and just be in the city. It's relatively cheap, but housing is very expensive. The medium price of the people who I know around here that they're paying for a room in a residence is from 500 to 700 euros a month. I am currently paying 600 euros a month, which is very expensive for just a room in a residency uh, house. And I do know some obvious outliers from that, but come in either if you don't want to pay that much, do a lot of research. Don't go for anywhere just because you will be paying less, because that can take you to an hour and a half away from the city. So do a lot of research and understand that despite housing being very expensive, cost of living, you can tone that down a lot. For example, for food, you can have meals at the as a student from the Instituto Superior Técnico, which is part of the University of Lisbon. You can have meals in every one of the dining halls from the University of Lisbon, which is very widespread. And they all cost €3.10, and it's a lot of food. So there are ways to go around. If you want to buy a banana, you're not going to be spending more than 20 cents on that. If you want to buy a coffee at any coffee shop, you're probably going to be spending 90 cents or around that. So that is this dichotomy of cost of living and dorms that I always like to well established here. And as I'm talking about the different University of Lisbon dining halls, that leads me to talking about the fact that I am both currently taking classes here at the Instituto Superior Técnico, um, but I'm also doing my thesis at the University of Lisbon, the medical school, which is some kilometers away. It's not too far, but that's something else to keep in mind, is that this program is very it 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 congregates both areas of engineering and medicine. So there is a chance of you spending a lot of your time in the medical school. Speaking of my thesis, very briefly, I am in the neuroscience and pharmacology unit. I am doing research with absence seizures, which is a non-convulsive type of they are events of a non-convulsive type of epilepsy, which is um, absence epilepsies. And I am focusing on a rat model called the genetic absence epilepsy rats from Strasbourg. They have a very similar signal to a child who suffer from absence epilepsy. And we want to pretty much figure out what is a better treatment for those children. And we're approaching it with a very molecular mindset, trying to understand what are the neural circuits that both create the absence seizures themselves and the comorbidities, and seeing how can we block those seizures and also restore normal cognitive performance. It's what I'm doing. It's very neuroscience focused, has somewhat of a molecular vein. But the good thing about this program is that it allows you to look at those kind of problems with a more computational mindset. And in your first year, you're probably going to be taking signal and data analysis a signal and data analysis course, which is coming in handy several times. I am doing an analysis of EEG of rats, which is a very special type of signal. And for the absence seizures, they are the markers of absence seizures. So I am really putting into application all of the knowledge that I've learned in Israel. And yes, I'm still moving on. The project has pretty much just started. We just received our rats, and it takes obviously some time for it to be set off. As already kind of finishing the speech, my courses wise, so I want to talk a little bit about courses in Instituto Superior Técnico. You have a very flexible schedule. There's so many classes that you can take take, and one of the options for in addition to that, all of the master's degrees classes are taught in English. So, for example, I took a class called Image Processing and Vision, which is, I think, organized by the electrical engineering program. I was one of the only biomedical engineering kids in the course, and that allows you for flexibility so that you can look at what are the questions that you want to be asking, what are the thesis line of research you want to be taking, and then really tailor the classes that you are going to be taking here for that matter. All of the courses are 7 weeks long, which is really not that much time. So they're fast paced. They are very rigorous. So don't expect to come here if you're someone who always gets 90s plus 95s in your exams. Don't expect that here, because that is not the norm. Usually you will be getting 60s, 70s. The passing grade here, I think it's, for one of my classes, was 40%. So don't come here with too much high hopes, but really try to learn. That's what the professors want. And yes, so just to put it out there, I took a computational biology course, which was very much focused on genomics processing. I'm going to be using that because part of my thesis is going to be in proteomics. I took the image processing and vision, which is pretty much a computer vision class. Very rigorous again, but it's really high standards. The professor is very well established in the field. And now I'm taking instrumentation and acquisition of biosignals, which obviously makes sense to to my research. And it's taught by Professor João Sanches, who is the coordinator of the NeuroData section here in Lisbon. And just to finish, now talking about Lisbon, cool things to do in Lisbon. It's I am from Sao Paulo, which is a very, very, very big city in Latin America. So Lisbon, I will say, is a smaller town. Still a capital city. It has everything that you want to do or that you need to do mostly. It's well connected to other big cities like Porto, Coimbra, Faro, so you can and you can reach all of them in this in 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. It's really not too far, so you can do good trips around. And in Lisbon, you can go to. There's so many movie theaters. There are a couple movie theaters even with English subtitles for Portuguese movies, which is very accepting to international people. You'll see that there's so many. There's a very vibrant international community here, and museums and parks, everything. It's very it's very welcoming. They also have beaches. It's don't expect them to be super close to the city like in Tel Aviv. They you have to go a little bit outside, but you can still go. The water is very cold, but I recommend in those very hot days of summer. Yes, I hope that I helped and that you can take something from this.